watching Car Nitty. My name's Mizan, and as you guys know, I have a Mark 5 VW Golf R32. This isn't my car. It was meant to arrive, but I had a flat battery, and this is where the owner of this car came to the rescue. So shout out to Rizwan. And the reason why Rizwan is here is because I was offered this car. It's a Passat R36. Now, I could have done a standalone review on this car, but considering I have an access to an R32, I had to make a comparison video happen. I want to give a massive shout out to Mudge, who put me and Ben in touch to make this review happen. And unfortunately, this isn't my R32, but don't worry guys, you'll see it very soon on the channel once I get the battery sorted. I don't need to explain how the Mark 5 lineup works. We all know the R32 is the flagship car, and with it is the Edition 30. Below that is the GTI, and then you have the pedestrian options, which is the 1.6 and the 1.9s and the 2-litre versions, petrol and diesel. Now the Passat is quite special because that's just a hatchback. This car comes in an estate like this and a saloon, and it's the car above it, much like an A3 and an A4. This car has no GTI variant or anything. It comes with the pedestrian options, but it comes with this, the R36. And what is this? It's essentially the engine out of that and put into this, but VW increased it from 3.2 litres to 3.6. So how much can you pick up one of these for? Let's start with the R32. The R32 can be picked up for as little as £6,000. But if you are buying one, I recommend buying one with under 100,000 miles or one with a timing chain done. The reason for that is the timing chain can cost between £1,200 to £1,500. That goes around the 120,000 mile mark. So ideally you want one that's low mileage, well below 120, or you want to buy one around that, but it's had the chain done. So 6k for one as an entry, but realistically if you want a low mileage one, you're looking at around 10 grand, 9 grand. An R36 on the other hand will cost you around £10,000. But on this occasion, you can't be picky about mileage, condition, or service history, or anything. You're lucky to even get your hands on one, because that's how limited they are. Right now, there's only one on sale on Auto Trader, and it even says now sold. So there's not even none available. So if you are looking to buy one of these, you are at the mercy of the seller, and it's going to cost you around £10,000, but it can cost way more than that. Like I said, you can't be picky. Considering that's not a Passat R32 over there, it's an R36, means there's going to be a difference in power, and you'd be correct. Now, the R32 has a 3.2 litre naturally aspirated VR6, and it produces 247 brake horsepower and 320 Newton meters of torque. That's paired with a 6-speed DSG gearbox, and it's got a Haldex four-wheel drive system. The R36 has obviously a 3.6 litre naturally aspirated VR6, but this time it's producing 296 brake horsepower and 350 Newton meters of torque. That's an extra 50 horses from the Golf, and an extra 30 Newton meters of torque, which is a massive difference. And that's reflected in the 0 to 60 times. The Golf has a 0 to 60 quoted time of 6.5 seconds. The Passat is 5.7. That's almost an entire second, which is massive, especially when you consider the fact that the Passat is a bigger car. You know, if I have both of these cars, we're gonna do a sound check. Now, both of these cars have very different setups in terms of noise, exhaust. So what I'll do is I'll put it on screen right now to know which one has what setup. Now, let's start off with the R32 and see how that sounds. Very different tones. The R32 has a more open noise, but the R36 does sound really good. What we're going to do now is we're going to hit the road, we'll jump in the Golf first, and we'll go from there. We're now in the Golf, and the owner of this Golf is Rizwan, who sat in the back. Rizwan,
thank you for having me on the channel, Mizan.
Yeah, so Riz is literally my knight in shining armor. I mean, got a shoot planned and booked, and I go to unlock my car. It managed to unlock with the key, central locking, but then when I put the car in the ignition, it just wasn't cranking. And yeah, this shoot would have been cancelled had it not been for Rizwan. So massive thank you to Rizwan. And let's now move on to the other man, and this is Ben.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, so Ben is the owner of the R36, and Ben is no stranger to YouTube reviews because his car has featured on JM on Cars. You've already told me off camera the reason why you bought the Passat was because you've got two Huskies.
That's correct, yeah.
And you needed a car that could fit the dogs in the back, right?
Yeah.
So that's the main reason for buying the Passat. Did you consider the Golf at any stage?
I was looking at the Golf to start with. I didn't even know about the R36 until kind of doing the research.
I see.
I wanted something bigger than a Lupo, something more practical, but something still fun to drive.
Yep.
Looking at the Mark 5 R32s.
I see.
The R36 exists. And
So you are a VR6 man at heart?
To some extent, but I come from an aircore background. So
Okay. What was it about the VR6 that attracted you to the Passat? So, and does this car have that?
Yeah, it's partly the sound and the power that you get from it. You drive it as an everyday car like any other Golf or Passat, and then you put your foot down and it will get you where you want to, and it will get you there fast.
And it sounds good while you're doing it. So obviously, your main reason for buying the Passat was the dog. So a Golf, if you had maybe one Husky, a Golf could have worked, isn't it? A 5.
Yeah, I mean, I used to carry a Husky around in my Lupo, but she took up the entire rear seat. So
okay. So this is what I'm saying. So a Golf was actually the natural step up, wasn't it, at one point? And you were looking at the R32 at that point?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you were doing the research, you found out that there's such a thing as an R36.
That's correct.
And then you're like, well sod the saloon, you want the estate. Yeah. And you've had it, and you've had it for 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we know why you bought the R36, and an R32 was potentially on the cards for you. So how does this feel compared to the R36? You mentioned the steering side. The steering.
Yeah, the steering wheel of that is thinner.
How is the dimensions of the car? Can you feel the car is a smaller car?
I don't notice it too much, to be honest.
Because this is the thing, the Passat, if the Passat was truly that much larger of a vehicle than the Golf, it would have had a traditional V6 in it.
Yeah.
There has to be a reason why they put the VR. The VR is for space. It's for about the fact that they couldn't fit a V6 in the engine bay. So I don't think the Passat is as big as we might think it is, if that makes sense.
I don't think it is as wide. I think the main thing is from the length of it.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously now we have, Golf R estates, Golf R hatchbacks. Back then there wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's why the Passat was the only option for an estate. If you wanted a Golf, but you wanted an estate, isn't it?
Yeah.
How's everything else? How's the gearbox? It's exactly the same 6-piece DSG in your car, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any difference?
I've not noticed too much of a difference, but I don't tend to drive mine in auto. I tend to kind of manual shift it, so you get a slight difference.
Yeah, I'll put it to manual mode for you so you can control it. Is there anything worth noting in regards to this car and the Passat? Like any differences?
Other than like styling of the dash and that, it
feels like the same car.
It feels quite similar handling wise.
Handling as well, yeah. Both Howdecks.
Both lowered, both Howdecks.
Yeah. From a driving perspective, you're saying it feels like the same car. It's just
I think the power delivery is maybe a little bit slower. It seems a little bit more sluggish, but
there's 50 horses at play. That is a big difference. And I don't think the torque is much noticeable. It's mainly that power. There we go, National Speed Limit Road. So that's the remap this car's had, the little pops and bangs. Ignore that, we're trying to look at the car from a genuine perspective as if it came from the factory. From that little pull, what's your thoughts in terms of the power delivery?
There is a difference. I think this is a little slower, but it actually sounds fast because you can hear the exhaust tone more in this.
Brakes feel?
Brakes not bad.
Really?
You've got confidence in them.
Don't get too confident.
But being a Howdex, you can really choose the speed limit around the bends. Does the noise? How does the difference in noise feel for you?
It feels like you're driving faster than you actually are because you can hear more of the exhaust with this. The sound travels with you.
Yeah, it does. Do you prefer it? Or
I like it. I wish I'd got a bit more of the sound.
Okay, because this is the thing. You got a VR6 in it, and you've gone for a very civilized tone and volume setup, and I respect that. I genuinely respect the fact that you've done that, but it's like having Beethoven living in your house and saying you're not allowed to sing in the shower.
I think it would have been a good purchase. Instead of the R36, had I not found it, I would have been quite happy driving one of these.
Really?
You've still got the power, it'll kind of get up and go.
Yep.
And you can still have fun with it.
I see.
But you've still got it as a sensible daily driver.
Yep, a Golf is still a Golf, exactly. So for you, it was literally the Huskies, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've always liked the B6 estates anyway in the Passat. So when it found I could get a bored out version of the same engine in the R32s in one of them, and as an estate, it
just ticks all the boxes. I mean, you've had this for 5 years, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you've got no plans on selling yours at the same time.
No.
If it wasn't for the Huskies, would you be happy with the R32?
I would.
You would? And that's a big statement, with considering you're 50 horses down. Massive statement. And one of the benefits is you can be picky when you're buying an R32. What colour do I want? You know, what spec has it got? You're quite lucky. You've got the sunroof, you've got folding mirrors, you've got heat seats front and rear.
Yeah.
So you've got reverse camera. But maybe you didn't like the silver colour, but you're kind of stuck with that because how many were in silver at the time you're buying it?
Yeah.
But with the Golf, you have so many options to pick from. So yeah, and not even that. With the R36, you even said you have to explain the fact that it's a real car. You didn't just badge it as what it is.
Yeah.
Whereas the R32, people know what it is the moment you show up somewhere. I'm now in the driver's seat of the Passat, and one of the key things I noticed straight away is the car feels a lot more bigger. One of the big things is the interior cubby space. So in the Golf you can just about fit 2 cups in the cubby. This car, you've got this massive area. Even the interior layout, the dashboard, the Golf is very like in your face. This is more flat and flush, if that makes sense. So you can feel the car is bigger. Even the dials, there's a lot more going on in the Passat than it is in the R32. And I'm noticing that the steering wheel is extremely thick. Yeah, I can say with confidence that I prefer the steering with the R32. Thinner rims generally mean it feels less synthetic because obviously there's less feedback. There's no feedback as it is because it is electric steering. It's just that this robs you of even the little that you do have. The cage in the back, obviously that's for the dog, isn't it? When I say cage, I mean it's like a divider, isn't it?
Yeah, dog guard.
Dog guard, thank you very much. A dog guard, and obviously that's because of your 2 Huskies they keep in the back. Yeah. It feels like I'm driving a police car when I look back at that. And you told me a funny little anecdote, isn't it, whilst I was doing the shots outside?
Yeah, these used to be used as police vehicles for highway pursuits and stuff like that.
So motorway police.
So, yeah, they tended to have a different interior. It tended to be a cloth interior.
Yeah, because they wouldn't care about spec as such. For them is they needed the engine to catch criminals.
Yeah, and it tended to be the estates more than saloons because they wanted that extra boot space again.
Yep, exactly. And being a silver colour, it does kind of mix the profile. So you've done your checks, right? This isn't one of them, right?
No.
Okay, good. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And that, you know what, that may play a part in the reasons why they're so rare on the road, because those police ones, they would have been absolutely pushed to its limit, isn't it? That would have had a very hard life.
They've been serviced well, but driven hard.
Yeah, exactly. Serviced well, but driven hard, definitely, without doubt. You having a lighter headliner makes a big difference. It does feel more airy. Then you've obviously got the sunroof as well with it.
Yeah.
So it makes a massive difference to the car. And then you've done your own modifications. You've done the red stitching, which makes it feel a lot more upmarket. Then you've got the ambient lighting, which kind of lifts the interior. It's just, there's a lot going on, and it is a lovely car to be. I mean, look, right now I'm just potting around. So imagine I've got a dog in the back. Rizwan, if you don't mind giving me a few bucks, please, mate. Okay, his face is...
Alright, cool.
Go on.
Nah, I'm not barking for you, bro.
Okay, so I thought for a second, his face went blank as soon as I asked him to bark. Obviously, I wasn't going to ask him to do that. I just wanted to see his facial reaction. But I can imagine, I mean, carrying my dog in the back, just going about my business, that you could just crack on. And this does have a massive daily drivability factor about it. It does have it. And that's really hard to say because the fuel consumption is no doubt going to be horrendous, because my R32 is horrendous, so no doubt this is. But for someone like yourself who's a petrol head who doesn't want to drive something mundane and boring, an R36 can do everything for you, minus the fuel bill, obviously, isn't it?
Yeah, ask for a drink, I'll give it one.
Yeah, literally, exactly. It's like living with someone that needs to be in the AA, isn't it?
Yeah.
But not the AA that we know, but Alcoholics Anonymous. This car feels just as nose heavy as an R32. You can tell there's a lot of weight on the front axle. That's still exactly the same, but at the same time I can feel weight behind me. That's, I think, a big difference in this car. There's a weight behind me because being an estate, it obviously goes over the rear axle by quite a bit. And the dimensions of the car obviously being more boxy rather than a saloon where it would obviously cut down. I can actually feel that when I drive. But there is a massive daily drivability. I can tell that's where your main focus has been on the car. Rizwan's R32 is a bit more asphalt, especially with that pop and bang map he's got going on. Your one is so calm, sedated. It's literally like you fed it some pills to stop its true unleashed, potential from coming out. You've even got heat seats at the back. This is just such a beautiful car, and I know that if you wanted to put this car on sale tomorrow, you'd probably get a seller. You'd get a seller the day after or the week after, because you just know that someone out there is waiting and hoping for you to list this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I waited a year for the right car to come along.
There you go. And I'm sure when you go to petrol stations, if there's a real enthusiast that knows the cars, will probably say, mate, you look to sell that by any chance?
I've had a few people asking.
Yeah, you would, as you would, because a Passat R36, like I said, if you look online, it's you take what you're given. That's unfortunately the policy, isn't it? Yeah. You take what you're given. You have absolutely no choice. You just
or you sit and wait.
Yeah, or you sit and wait, exactly. And then you're probably going to be battling how many other people for that. Yeah. So it is the Passat R36 is a crazy, crazy car when you think about it. So similar to the Golf, yet so different and so after. Oh my god, the rubbing is so bad in this. I can't do it. It hurts me. It's not my car and it hurts me. Don't the dogs start barking when they hear all that noise?
I don't tend to bark for much.
I can't deal with it as a human being. If I was a dog, I'd be going nuts. Do you know, it just feels so painful to the bodywork.
I think it'd be more painful to lift the car up and have it look less cool.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I believe that there's a perfect ride height for every car, and you have to factor practicality as well as looks and also drivability. So you're scoring higher on the looks, but lower on, unfortunately, the practicality side of it. It makes me so sad that the VR6 is such an iconic engine and VW just didn't keep it at all. Yeah, I mean, a modern day VR6 with like this one, the 3.6, strapped with a turbo of some kind. Or even if they downsize the VR6 to like because they used to do a 2.2 litre, 2.8. There was a 2.5 VR5. So there has been smaller VR6s and even VR5s out there. And if they just held on to the formula of a VR engine with a turbo, I think it would have been a crazy, crazy car. I can't tell if it's faster. I know my R32 inside out. I put my foot down there and I'm just trying to think, how would my R32 react in the same way? And you're right, the exhaust makes a big difference because the noise makes you feel like this is so muted. I don't feel like I'm going as fast as I actually am. Yeah. I'm actually sitting there puzzling my brain thinking, is this faster? 50 horses faster. Rizwan, do you feel it?
I can tell it's a bit more heavier.
Yeah, can you feel it faster?
Similar, yeah. In terms of power,
yeah.
I'm the same as you. I'm a bit puzzled because you can't really tell. It's very hard to tell.
Feel it. Okay, we've got a national speed limit road coming, and I'm gonna slow myself down really, really low, really, really low. No one's behind me because there's a car ahead of me. So I'm at 20 miles per hour and no one's behind me. Okay, someone's coming. So low down torque. It's an NA engine. No pull, from gear 4. Yeah, the torque is the same. You know what it is? It's the torque. The torque is only 30 newton meters, and I think that's probably what it is. I'm sitting there waiting for it to be pushed in my seat, and I'm not getting that because the torque number is 30 newton meters. That's not enough to make a difference. And I think the brake horsepower is probably at the top end, isn't it? That's where you really feel the difference of brake horsepower. National speed limit. No, that's faster. That's faster. That's faster. That's faster.
Oh, you can feel it now.
You have to redline the hell out of it, and you will feel those 50 horses come into play. This is faster. You know that is a lot more faster. Because I'll be honest, I am underwhelmed when I drive the R32. This engine in a Golf, dear Lord. I have seen someone on Instagram, I forgot who the hell they are, but they have put this engine in a Golf. There must be minimal labour involved to swap the engine. The wiring loom, etc. all has to be the same. So,
You would think so.
I would think so. And I hope so. Because if so, then that is a perfect alternative to turbocharging and supercharging an R32. Get yourself the 36 engine.
You have another option, the Passat CCs that came with a 3.6.
They did,
I don't think they're the same tuning, but I think that.
But they're basically an R36 without the R36 badge, and I've seen the engine bay. It's like identical to the way your block looks, the manifold. So I wouldn't surprise me if it is the same engine. But you're right, detuned.
That might be a cheaper way of getting into it.
Definitely. And this engine in a Golf, that's Golf firepower. 300 horsepower. That's how much a Mark 7 R is. The R36 was the last VR6 powered car to leave the factory, and what a way to sign off an amazing feat of engineering. To fit such a large engine in a small engine bay means any VR engine car is a mechanical marvel, and the R36 is the daddy. The R32 is also an amazing car, and I can attest to that, especially as I've owned two of them. But had the R36 been more readily available, I'd have definitely gone for one of those. But I don't think that the 3.2 block is that far off the 3.6. Neither cars are blistering fast in this modern day of turbocharging, but there's a charm that these two have which a modern car can never replicate. Both cars are legends, and I think you can't be disappointed if you buy either. The Golf is cheaper and it has class and presence. The Passat is a unicorn, but one that may be unattainable for most and very subtle, so don't despair if you settle for the Golf. After driving both cars, I'm left puzzled as to why the Mark 6R was a 2-litre 4-cylinder and why they didn't just make a Golf R36 as a final hurrah, or at least do some special edition variant during the Mark 5's life. I also wonder why they didn't just downsize the displacement of the VR6 and just turbocharge it to modernise it. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share and subscribe, and we'll see you soon on the next one.